Namaste, friends, teachers, guides, pedestrians, bicyclists, and everyone else. I love you. How are you doing? Hopefully, well. I want to share today um, about God. I know that that's probably the biggest possible topic I could be talking about, but I feel like talking about God. So, and I feel that we could all benefit from a disclosure about God, from a opening of our perceptive eyes to the reality of God. Now, I'm sure we've all heard that God is love and that God is the ultimate dimension of reality. But what about everything else in between? I think that that's a misconception, is that God is somehow separate. As soon as we say God is something, we're really separating the rest of existence from God. And I think that's the opposite. I think God is that highest dimension. God is love. God is that ultimate reality. But yet he is also the insect crawling on the table. He is also the you know the person who had been good for most of their life, been good, whatever good is to them, and then turned away from that, and went down a different path. God is just as much part of that decision as he is someone completely surrendering their will to the divine. God is equal. God is equality. God is equanimity. God is the unfolding of reality, not just a pinnacle of reality. And I think that is an important thing to wake up out of, is to see that you are God, that God is you. God is your body, God is your mind, God is your spirit, your soul, your sins and your successes, your failures, your doubts and your fears, as long as you're as well as your inspirations and moments of enlightenment, and where you feel like you're just a ball of love. God is just as much there with you when you fail, if not more, than when you are actually doing what you feel like you're being called to do, and you're doing it well, and you're doing it fully, and you're helping people. God is all of these things. And I think if we're going to have a relationship with God, which I think is really the calling, whenever someone's being called to something, I feel like at the base level of what that is them being called to have a relationship with God. It could be having a relationship with your daughter. It could be having a relationship with an aspect of yourself that you've always denied. It could be having a relationship with nature. It could be having a relationship with someone of a different race or a different creed. But I feel like at the base of all of those things, it's you're being called to have a relationship with God. And God is all there is. So really, you can't go wrong. In the eyes of God, I don't think there's failure. I think there's what we perceive as success and failure, but that is all wrapped up within existence, within God, within all that is. And really, our successes and failures, if you look at them throughout your lifetime, you'll see that they change. Sometimes very rapidly. Sometimes they shift on a dime like that. You know, like when you're a child, your idea of successes and failures was completely different than when you were than when you were and are what we call an adult. And I use those quotations, but so yeah, I just wanted to open that up to people because I feel like that's really what we're being called to do. If you're being called to being a priest, if you're being called to follow your excitement, if you're being called to make art, if you're being called to be a garbage man, you know, if you're being called to uh, work in the government, whatever it is you're being called to, I feel like it's always on the, if you look deep enough into it, or simple enough, if you simplify the way you're seeing, I feel like you'll see you're being called to be closer with all that is. You're being called to move into a deeper deepening of your relationship with God. Every decision is moving towards God. It's inevitable. And yeah, I love you. Have a good evening. Namaste. Be well, be grounded, be loving, and be yourself because you are awesome.